New Artist Spotlight Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the New Artist Spotlight Podcast. I am Wilko Wilkes, and I'm delighted to be here, joined today with a new co-host for this show. He's been on the show before, but he's now going to be joining myself and Origin Cross, who have the privilege of hosting this great podcast. Welcome, Blue Scarr. How are you feeling, mate?
Yeah, good. Cheers, Wilko. Nice one. Good to be here.
Good. Yep, great to have you on. And I'm going to throw you in the deep end and ask you to introduce our guest today, who I'm also very excited about.
Oh, absolutely no pressure then, because the guest on tonight's pod is the legendary Rich Allen.
Hey. Good to be here.
Yeah, good
It's
to
awesome.
have you on. So tell us what you've been up to since last time. I know I've seen you.
Yeah, I'm doing a whole lot. This last year, I've almost been retired a full year. And I went into the beginning of the year thinking I wanted to record a different album, something different in my sound, and kind of get outside of the box a little bit. And I also wanted a very introspective album. So I started writing these songs for this project I call Thursday's Child. And I've been just recording them and then trying to play out at least a minimum of one night a week. This past week, I got a chance to play out twice, which was amazing. And just living life, getting my daughter prepped for university, which is another big life change for us in our household, and just doing life and trying to do the best I can. That's it.
Sounds like an awesome life.
Yeah. I feel like I'm very blessed. Believe me, it wasn't always this way. I always say that you got to spend some time at the nadir of your existence and to get to to a different point. So
you seem to be tackling it head on, because I've seen loads of clips of you doing live shows and stuff, and you've posted quite a bit on your Instagram. And it looks like you're just embracing it, and it's really good. That.
Yeah. I love it. It's hard to explain. I mean, I love being in the studio and writing and everything, but where the rubber hits the road is when I go out and perform them, because I really don't want to ever write a song that I can't play live. And the other thing is I feel like I am such a marginal acoustic guitar player that that was my other commitment at the beginning of the year, was for me to spend some time with just my acoustic guitar. Now, I play the electric guitar and have fun, but the thing about electric guitar, you can hide behind the pedals, so to speak, hide behind the distortion, if you will. The acoustic guitar is unforgiving. And so that was my other kind of mission this year, to write an acoustic album and then something that was completely different. So there's no electric guitar. There's no piano, which is my first instrument. There's no drums. It's a percussionist on all the pieces. I opted for a more orchestra sound with cellos, violins, mandolin, steel guitar on some tracks, as well as acoustic guitar on all the tracks. So they're all the songs were written on my acoustic guitar, which is kind of a little bit different than all the stuff I've done before, where I've always gone to the piano to kind of work it out. And so we'll see how it comes out. I mean, I'm excited to release them all. I released the first one not too long ago called By My Side. It seemed to be received pretty well. The rest of the songs, the next song that I'm releasing is called After All This Time. That's probably the biggest of the song. It's almost orchestra. How do you say that? I've had a few beers, by the way. It's orchestral. Thank you. In a sense, because I was actually thinking of like a movie theme when I was writing it, and I was in a kind of cinematic mood. I forget, my wife and I were watching something on some movie, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I don't watch much TV, so when I do, I'm kind of, I guess, easily impressed. But anyway, so that's kind of the vision for this album and what I wanted to do. And so there you have it. I mean,
I had a revisit to By My Side earlier today, and I've heard it before anyway because it's been out, hasn't it, for a month or so. And I mean, I'll be honest, I was getting a little bit emotional listening to it. It just sort of moved me a little bit, and I get that's that's where you're going with it, isn't it? That's the sort of cinematic process of the sound that you want from the songs, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I want people to feel my song. I think any art should stir somebody's emotion, whether it be sorrow, joy, excitement, energy. I mean, and I'll say that music has that ability when you think about it. I hear certain songs on the playlist when I'm listening to it, or when I'm listening to a radio, and if a techno beat comes on, I can kind of put myself into that, like or a rap tune, or all of that. But and then there's other music. When I hear it, all I want to do is come home and go into my studio because I want to. I don't know. I want to embrace that certain energy that comes my way. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm weird in some respects that I always try to tap into any kind of source of inspiration because I want to keep this going because I enjoy it so much.
We're all weird like that, mate. You know? we can all relate to that, man. Yeah, it's definitely. And I think while we're talking about it as well, we should give it a spin because myself and Blue Scarr have already heard it. Your next track from the album. Are we giving that a spin today?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I don't know when exactly this podcast will air, but I can tell you this is being released June 1st. So if this podcast is before June 1st, then you guys get the world premiere. And I can't think of anybody else I would be more honored to have that do that. And by the way, let me give you a shout out for what you did with the backing tracks to Just Being Friends. Oh man, that was so dope. Thank you. I just so enjoyed that. That was really bad.
The song made it easy, man. The song made it easy. It's a great song.
Yeah, so like, quick shout out.
Yeah, that song as well. It tells such a familiar story to so many people in such a simple and relatable way. So for me, having that sort of inspiration from your song where, you know, it was easy to put myself in that situation and think, if I was this guy and Just Being Friends, like, what would I be thinking now? And yeah, man, that's credit to you for being such a good songwriter as well.
I appreciate that. I write from the heart. I write from life experiences or something that's moved me. So, yeah. And this album is... Go ahead, rock and roll.
You give it a big intro, and then we'll spin it, and we'll come back and chat about it a bit more.
Okay, you want me to give it an intro?
Oh, yes.
All right, yeah. So this is After All This Time, and a quick shout out to Charles Conley for an amazing job mixing and mastering this song. So rock and roll.
After all this time, after all these years, can you tell me how to heal a broken heart? To have the love we share, you act like you don't care. You play the game oh so well, break all the rules. Oh, look at you, of course you would. I remember the night we cried, we held each other tight. We swore our love would pass the test of time. Was all these years, can you tell me how to heal a broken heart? Can you tell me how to cover up the scars? Used to love me, baby, used to love me not. Used to drive me crazy, you were so damn hot. Couldn't take my eyes off of you. Now those days are gone, long gone, like an end of summer song. Everything's temporary. In this moment, can you define the place deep inside you where my love resides? After all this time, after all these years, tell me how. Tell me now. Can you tell me how to heal a broken heart?
That was all this time. Thanks, Rich, for letting us have that tune. I listened to it myself this morning, and I just thought it was magical. It just flowed so well.
I appreciate that. Again, all these songs are very personal to me, and especially this album. And the funny thing, it started out that I was only going to write 6 songs, and then kind of pursue some other things this summer. But I got on a roll, and now I have almost 10, and it's still growing. I don't think it's going to grow quite as big as Taylor Swift's Tortured Poets, but
I'd say it's probably better, to be fair. But,
yeah, no worries.
You don't have a
That was
team of
just-
about 2,000 people either.
Yeah, that was a backhanded compliment. I had to release my last song on the same day she released Tortured Poets, but nonetheless, I still had, I still did okay the first day on streams, and it's all good. It's not only about the streams; it's just about the fact that I did it. I produced something. I put it out there. So, that's the whole thing. When I think about aging gracefully, I think about all the things that that are important, and so I'm really trying to learn and evolve as a musician. And the good thing about New Artist Spotlight, it drives me to do that. It's so I've said this before, and I'll say it 1,000 times over. The inspiration of the sound that I wanted from this whole Thursday Child came from a lot of different influences, but there was one particular song that kind of moved me to tears. Wanaka, I Walk Alone, and I was like, wow. I wish I wrote that song. I wish I created that song. So not that the song that you just heard is anywhere like that, but I think as this album progresses and you start to hear the flow of each track that I release, I hope that will stir the same type of emotion to my listeners. So that's kind of what it is that I'm hoping to achieve. So. I worry nowadays with all this bullshit, and there's no other way to put it, that's going on with Spotify and, them trying to justify what they're doing to independent artists over this book deal that they're going to have or something. And all the in the U.S., we have this bill in Congress that's just sitting in committee. They won't push it through for music fairness to kind of give the artists their equal share and to kind of look at these big streaming companies, especially Spotify, because they're the biggest, of kind of unfair business practices. And we're trying to get this going. Plus the petition also to kind of work it out with Ed's situation, which totally blows me the hell away. It's just crap. So I think as independent artists, I worried a little bit when some of the stuff that I posted online about Spotify being unfair, that I wasn't shooting myself in the foot. The same thing when I tried to reach out to one of the representatives from Spotify. I was like, oh, great. Am I going to put myself on their radar? Not that I ever pay for streams or any of that. And it's really, I'm happy for the streams. I enjoy the community of New Artist Spotlight, just even if there wasn't streams there, because of just the connection with like-minded people. And so at the end of the day, I think as independent artists, we all have to rally for music fairness for all of us, that we get compensated correctly, that we get our fair share. And as an independent artist, a record company, they have a secretary that's going to log your set list into your performing arts agency if you belong to one. As an independent artist, you have to do that. You play a gig, you come home, you have to spend the time creating the set list that you did and loading that in if you want to get compensated, from licensing. And I don't know how it works in like maybe in the UK, but I believe that every time you perform, if you perform in the venue has to pay a certain percentage of that on top of your payment and royalties for performing the song. And if you didn't write the song, the songwriter gets a certain credit for that. So it's like when I do a cover, if I do a set, I have to throw a couple covers in because people will they want to hear something familiar when you're performing. So you have to do it. But the person that wrote that song or performed that song, both should get credit, but the songwriter should get credit and the publishing company. So you have to do that. And then you're spending a tremendous amount of time on social media. I have a little thing on my phone that tells me how long I'm online each week, and I'm like, fuck, it's depressing, But I realize some of that is my responsibilities also as a mod and what I do as far as being on the social media team. So that's cool too. But even as myself, just promoting and creating reels and doing whatever I can to kind of get people to go to my website. And that's what I do now with all these people that are trying to scam me. I say, management handles everything. Please check out my website and leave a contact there. So it drives traffic to my website. I don't care if they do anything. It still shows and it keeps me relevant in the search engines. So that's how I use those scammers that, promise you a million streams in 2 days or whatever.
I think the issue we have, don't we, is if you sort of on your own, you've got to do everything yourself, and there's not enough time to do it. And I almost feel that if I was able to throw money at certain things, not playlists or anything, but in terms of professionals who can step in and help me, then that would really help me out and grow. But that initial outlay isn't there because the streaming money is so poor. So you're trying to break even by getting what streams you can do. And then you're trying to flog your music on social media, but you're forever fighting against everybody else who's doing the same thing. And me personally, I seem to have hit a level where I probably need some help to push it on further, but it just seems to be that if you've got the money to grease the wheels, so to speak, you will get into the right board meetings, you'll get onto the right playlists, you'll get onto the right radio stations. And it is so frustrating. So I sometimes have to take a step back and say, do you know what? Actually, it's supposed to be fun, this. So I'm going to go back to writing a song now. And it'll be fun for a week or so before I stress about the next release. So I totally get that. I mean, you're on social media all the time, and so am I. It's painful sometimes, but it's supposed to be fun. And as long as we're still happy with what we're doing, I guess it's all right. Even if you're not making any money.
I wanted to ask you,
I'm
Rich,
sorry.
because you were saying earlier on about playing live and like how that's. I wanted to ask you how you to describe kind of how you feel when you are playing live, because it's something I've been reflecting on recently. Like that's where the real connection is when you're playing live in real life. But I can find it difficult at times. I can find it. I don't think I'm my most relaxed when I'm live. Sometimes I can feel like on top of the world, like I'm indestructible, and then other times I can feel really vulnerable. And yeah, how do you feel about that, man?
So I have peaks and valleys. It depends on the venue. As of late, I've been recording all my sets, not to release, but for just critiquing myself. But I can tell you, I've had situations where I've walked into a place and the band before me was like unbelievable, and I get up there and I'm so self-conscious, and it takes like 2 songs or 3 songs to get into it, and then I do okay. Um, and then other places where I go in and I have this like I'm Teflon. I just my confidence level is just through the roof. I guess it's time and what emotion and the makeup of the day. Sometimes if we don't process certain crap that the outside world throws at us, sometimes we carry that into our performance. So it's kind of putting yourself in that mindset. And when my new thing is, if the band or the person before me I think is so good that I'm a little bit intimidated, so I just kind of say, well, you could be dead tomorrow. Go out there and do what you came here to do, and sometimes push through. And 9 times out of 10, I love it. And
I think
when
I'd want
there's
everyone
money,
in the audience to be drunk, mate, just so they'd enjoy it a bit
yeah.
more.
Yeah, well, that's why I love playing the Irish pubs, because everybody's having a great time and it's good. It's funny because when it's a contract where I'm getting paid, like these corporate gigs that I do, and these corporate gigs, I just want to play guitar or piano. I don't really want to sing. So when they say, well, we want a singing songwriter, my new thing is, okay, if they're going to make me sing covers, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to charge them session rate for as a guitar player and session rate as the singer. So now my fee has kind of gone up. I've gotten a few less corporate gigs, but they're still coming in, and they kind of they put money in my pocket so I can do more recording or buy more equipment, because I love equipment as well.
I think a lot of performers tend to stick to online performances now as well, because I think you get rid of that nervousness as well, because whilst there might be a handful of people watching, they're not face to face with you. If you ever sort of scroll TikTok, the amount of DJs, for example, who just do DJ sets on TikTok, and they might have about 5 people watching, but at least they can't see the people's faces of how uninterested they look. And people say to me, why don't you do stuff like that? And they're like, but if nobody watched, I'm just gonna have to cut the live stream, aren't I, and go to bed and have a cry.
So, well, no. What I would say about the other thing about playing live is an exchange of energy. It really is an adrenaline rush when you nail it. And
you're not going to get that online, are you, either?
So, here's my thing about online. I did Street Jelly for a while, and I stopped doing it because my sound in my studio, I never know what it sounds like on the other end. And so I took the advice of a good friend of mine, a producer from Nashville, about certain things. And he said, don't release subpar material. From now on, you only release your music. You can tag it, pictures of yourself, but don't release live performances unless it's professionally mixed and mastered. He said that's very important, because if you want to develop yourself as an artist, you don't want to put something that's completely stop them from ever looking again on your social media feed, or just kind of whatever you do. Once I follow somebody, I don't ever unfollow them on any social media. I figure, what's the point? I don't want to hurt anybody's algorithm either. So, but and I still don't understand the whole social media thing. It's crazy. Twitter seems to be where I get a lot of more interaction than Instagram, and then Facebook seems to just be like family and friends. And
I've still
I love
not
my
really got
family.
into Facebook. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing with it in terms of music. And
Yeah.
Twitter feels like a bit of a free for all. It just seems to be everyone shouting really loudly and not listening to each other. Whereas Instagram's a bit more. I think it's a bit more interactive.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is I created my Twitter feed, and the only people I followed were musicians, and so I kind of passed through all that political crap and all the occasionally some girl or some crypto person will say, "Hey, you want to buy Bitcoins or something?" But very rarely it's just all music people. So I think my feed stays kind of clean for the most part.
If you've got any
Facebook,
crypto people coming after you, send them to Pill Hill Dean. Say no about crypto. Though.
Yeah, I just kind of ignore that or block them or whatever I have to do to move on from. Especially but like with TikTok, it's all about videos and tagging my music to it. So if they hear a little slip of it, maybe they'll go to it. And then I have a whole list of radio stations in the state of Florida, and I'm sending each of those DJs a copy that's meta tagged, which I'm still kind of trying to figure that out. But I have a letter and that I personalized to them, and I'm kind of following up. And then, the hardest part is figuring out when to listen to all these radio stations to see if they play.
Well, you're right down my street there, because that's pretty much all I ever do. Because like you said, I have a list of stations. It's not a list that I made and then went to go after. I just sort of found these people and then made note of them if they were helpful. And I'd literally spend most of my time on social media, going to radio stations, sending them messages on Instagram, sending them the emails of the track, the press releases and all that sort of stuff. And it's an absolute grind. But actually, when you then get some notice that the song's going to be on the radio, it's an absolute buzz, and it makes that week worth of chasing and hassling someone worth it when you're thinking, do you know what? There might actually be some people listening to this, people who aren't other musicians, people who are real people. And that's great. That's been my strategy now for about 6 months, and I think it's working. So I think you're doing the right thing there, for sure. You're getting out there, and you're getting real people to hear your songs in bars, you're getting people to hear your songs on the radio, and I think that's the way to do it.
So the other cool thing is going to record stores. So I just go with my acoustic guitar and my little box of records of my vinyl, and I go and I ask the guy, "Can I play?" Or if I set it up ahead of time, where, "Hey, singer-songwriter Rich Allen," I give him a couple of my vinyls, and then I sell them. And people are coming in and out, and they get to see me live. People think it's a big deal. It's kind of like I don't want to. How do I put this? Because I don't want to say I'm narcissistic, but it is definitely like a head rush when they say, "Well, can I get your autograph? Will you sign this?" They buy your album, you sign it, they sign it, and I'm putting $20 in my pocket for each album because I'm selling it for $30, and I'm covering my cost to print it, and I'm putting $20 in my pocket selling my music. So
you're also making that connection. You're making that connection, aren't you? So that the fan, they've become a fan of you now, and what you release in the future, they're going to look out for you, and they're going to know your name. And if they see a Rich Allen on a poster, they'll come and see you. And that's a really good idea, man. Just turning up and saying, "Can I play here?" How often does that work, and how often do they get that?
Well, they can also find you on Spotify, aren't they? And then replay your songs over and over again, and that's real listeners, and not, it's not. It's great, though, yeah.
So how does that work? It works pretty well. I'll answer that for you, because I try to be real humble and say, "Listen, if you don't like it, I'll leave." You can just say, "There's the door," but this is a win-win for both of us. It's just, I guess that's what I try to do, and I'm trying all the strategies. I just want my music heard, and what I want to do is be able to finance the printing of another vinyl, because that's just a dream come true. I'm from that era of vinyl first, and then I had the 8-track player, and then the cassette player, and then I had the CD. You youngsters don't know about those 8-tracks and stuff like that, or even cassettes.
I'm old enough. I'm old enough for a cassette. Yeah,
Yeah,
one
me
of the
too,
first-
unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I had to take that cassette tape. Me. Yeah.
So I was curious, have you been playing out? I mean, I saw some stuff on social media, but are you looking to kind of like do that on a regular basis?
I have played quite a lot of gigs now. I've probably played about 25 gigs total or something like that. Not loads and loads, but and I've done a few busking sets, and I've played at a few events as well and stuff like that. But when I started, I was like, all I wanted to do was play a gig. That was the dream. And then as I played more gigs, I'm being a little bit more selective now. I don't really want to play everything, every opportunity. I want to make sure that, like, if I'm putting all that energy and time into playing a gig, then there's going to be people there, or there's going to be, it's going to be like a good gig, or they're going to pay me. I don't care if nobody's there if they pay me a decent whack, but they're not going to pay you unless they're getting people there anyway. So, but yeah, I'm doing less because I thought it was the dream. And the more I do it, the more I think, actually, maybe one thing that I thought recently, and I'm not, I know this sort of like is about me and it's meant to be about you, but I've been thinking, I think I'm quite an introverted guy as a natural character. And I think the dream was like when I see other people playing live, I'm like, wow, I wish I had that confidence and that sort of extroversion to like go up stage and kill it. And then when I do that, it feels amazing. But actually, a lot of the time, I'm sort of worried about it, anxious about it for like a week, 2 weeks in advance, and kind of don't actually really enjoy it that much, because when I finish, I'm focusing on like little errors that I've made, or kind of I don't actually enjoy being there with everybody's eyes on me, like judging what they think of my music. Do you know what I mean?
It could possibly just be a stage. I went through kind of that stage where I would be so stressed out leading up to a gig that that I would just be unbearable. And I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? I'm supposed to be having fun. And I don't know. I just kind of approached it differently. So maybe it was this stage. I kind of worked out at it. I just pushed through because I knew something was telling me that this is like, this is what makes me really happy. This is like, this is for me. And it's, I have a lot of demands as a husband, a father, and, as a friend to a lot of people. So this is one thing that I can do for myself. And I'm a very introverted person, believe it or not. I'm only kind of extroverted around friends and family or people that I kind of trust. And it takes a little bit of time. But when I get on stage, I get to be somebody else. I get to be a performer and a showman, and I get to try to exchange an energy and an emotion that hopefully will capture the essence of my song.
No, I really like that, man. And you have just, I feel like that was a penny drop moment for me when you said it's for me, because I feel like when I first started doing gigs, it was for me, and I knew it was for me, and I was like, I'm living my dream here, and I don't care if there's anyone here, and I don't care if they enjoy it. And then maybe now I'm starting to think too much about the audience and too much about trying to entertain them, or whether they think it's any good or whatever, which I can't control. So my next gig, I'm just going to think, right, this is for me. I'm going to forget about them and say, I'll go for it, man. Just go for it.
So I say that you write a rap about that, just about like the anxiety of rapping. I mean,
yeah, that's a good idea, man. Yeah,
just kind of channel it. I mean, I always like when I'm melancholy, I try to write. When I'm really happy, I try to write. None of my songs ever, I don't think are happy. I think all my songs are sad.
Maybe you need to start writing on the beach or something. Have a couple of beers, get on the beach, and start writing. You're in Florida, aren't you?
I live on I live on an island for Pete's sake. So. Yeah, I really do live in paradise, except when the hurricanes come. But I don't know. I always try to use my emotion or my inspiration in my writing, and that's at the end of the day. If you listen to my song and it touches you in some way, then that's great, because that's what art's supposed to be. So I create the art, and if you have that, and it's not that you're being arrogant at all. It's just the fact that you put your heart and your soul. You become certain. Transparent. I mean, think about it. In my lyric writing, it's very transparent. I want people to see that transparency and that brutal honesty and the simplicity in it, in hopes that they can relate. Because at the end of the day, if you're writing, I'm writing these songs as a healing process for maybe past traumas, or a healing process of a friend, or whatever has inspired me to write the song. And at the end of the day, I do want a resolution. I want people to feel like resolved at the end. Okay, I can relate to this. And yes, that person survived, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that, man.
That's how you make the connection. Yeah, that's how you connect with people.
Yeah, so that's the kind of weird writer I am. And,
that's great, mate. But Rich, we've got 5 minutes left, and I cannot I can't let you get away without facing the quick fire 5.
Oh no! Oh God! Okay, so this is where I always.
The rules.
I kind of know the rules. I think I get in trouble on this.
Yeah, you're not coming back if you take any more than 15 seconds. There's no way.
I think I'm going to get banished after this, mate.
First off, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. Please, I can't thank you enough. I had a great time chatting.
It's a pleasure, man.
All right, rock and roll.
Let's see what you can do. So question 1 is, what is your favorite part of the whole music experience?
Seeing my music out there, published, available for the world to hear.
If you could have another NAS artist to do a cover of one of your songs, who would it be?
Oh, Adam Duritz from the Counting Crows. My biggest inspiration.
I love that. I didn't know he was in New Artist Spotlight, though. But
no, it was a new. Oh! No! Back it up, Emily Gray. That wasn't 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Emily Gray.
That's
I would love to hear.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep.
All right. I didn't listen correctly. I've had a beer. I told you. It's Sunday afternoon here.
Question 3.
All right, rock and roll.
Yeah. Question 3 is, who is your favorite wife of Henry VIII?
I like them all. I'm going to say all 8.
All 8, brilliant. There was only
8 wives. 6 on it.
I thought that. Yeah. I have no idea. I should have come up with something quick and witty, but
that's all right.
It is what it is. All right.
4. What's your favorite current NAS song?
Oh, I'd have to say my favorite current NAS song is really, it actually was the song of the day. It was from Emily Gray. Right now I'm kind of high on her. Her music is just kind of blown me away. And I think it's called A Stranger in Its Place. I should know this, but I probably screwed up the title. But it just came out. It's brilliant. Unbelievable guitar, walking guitar, acoustic in the beginning. It's just brilliant. Anyway.
Nearly 15 seconds, nearly. And question 5 is, where do you think you'll be in 5 years' time?
I believe in 5 years' time, my wife and I will probably be on some river cruise. That's probably where musically, I'll probably be releasing like the new version of techno or something, because I really want to release an album of all the genres, So after this acoustic one, I think I'm going to do the drop beat tuning and do some heavy metal, and then we'll see how we evolve.
I'll tell you what, drum and bass is really popular at the minute, so you want to get there.
Yeah. All right, is that the top 5? Did I do okay?
That's it. I don't know. We're gonna have to time that to see if you are banned to an eternity in hell. But,
okay. Well, it's really okay. Eventually, we all spend a little time in hell.
You need to read up on Henry VIII's wives, I think. I don't think there's 8 of them.
I think, it's that whole British thing. Here's the thing. When when I was over in London, I kind of felt like a connection there, and this is where I needed to live. I just absolutely fell in love with the whole area. It was just I spent a lot of time in some of the different neighborhoods, and it was just amazing. And
if you think London's great, you've not been to Manchester, have you? So there you go.
No, I haven't.
Forget London.
Not to Bingley, or whatever it is.
Yeah. So no, I really, and then the other thing I want to go to Ireland because I want to see Santa Hill play.
Yeah, so
I really do. I really want to. I told my wife, she goes, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to fly to Ireland. I want to see Santa Hill play in Galway."
Oh, let's organise that, because I want to do that as well. And I'm sure there'll be other people who want to travel over. Let's have a NAS.
Yeah, so
I see that.
Yeah. So I got a lot of things planned.
Any second. So thank you for coming on, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Be at home.
Thank you both. All right.
We'll see you.
All right. Peace
Out.
You